did not like maps. She felt instinctively that they sold the landscape short. Oh, she's certainly got about a bit, said Nanny Og, picking up a carved ivory fan and flirting coquettishly.
Footnotes.
Footnote. Nanny Og did not know what a coquette was, although she could probably hazard a guess.
Well, I have no idea, and I can't have
Coquettishly is like...
Whoa.
Flirtatious.
Yeah.
Well, it was easy for her, said Granny, opening a few drawers. She ran her fingers along the top of the mantelpiece and looked at them critically. She could have found time to go over the place with a duster, she said vaguely. I wouldn't go and die and leave my place in this state. Well, I wonder where she left, it, said Nanny, opening the door of the grandfather clock and peering inside. A shame on you, you dog, said Granny. We're not here to look for that. No, of course not. I was just wondering. Nanny Og tried to stand on tiptoes surreptitiously in order to see the top of the dresser. Gutha, for shame! And go make us a cup of tea. Oh, all right. Nanny Og disappeared, muttering into the scullery. After a few seconds, there came the creaking of a pump handle. Granny Weatherwax sidled toward a chair and felt quickly under the cushion. What are they looking for?
Whatever was in that package that...
Yeah, the book
That
you
Herky
took away.
got.
I haven't read the book yet, though, so don't spoil it.
Okay.
No
I don't
spoilers.
remember the book.
Oh, I know what it is, but I'm not going to tell anyone.
Okay.
Sorry. No spoilers allowed.
There was a clatter from the next room. She straightened up hurriedly. I shouldn't think you would be under the sink, neither, she shouted. Nanny Og's reply was inaudible. Granny waited a moment and then crept rapidly over to the big chimney. She reached up and felt cautiously around. Oh, are you looking for something, Esme? said Nanny Og, right behind her. Yes, the soot up here is terrible, said Granny. It's terrible soot there is.
She just slept it before she died, huh?
So it's not up there then, said Nanny Og sweetly. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you don't have to pretend. Everyone knows she must have had one, said Nanny Og. It goes with the job. It practically is the job. Well, maybe I just wanted to look at it, Granny admitted. Just hold it a while. Not use it. You wouldn't catch me using one of those things. I only ever saw it once or twice. There ain't many of them around these days. Nanny Og nodded. You can't get the wood, she said. You don't think she's been buried with it, do you? Oh, I shouldn't think so. I wouldn't want to be buried with it. Thing like that. It's a bit of a responsibility. Anyway, it wouldn't stay buried. A thing like that wants to be used. It'd be rattling around your coffin the whole time. You know what trouble they are. She relaxed a bit. I'll sort out the tea things, she said. You light the fire. She wandered back to the scullery. Granny Weatherwax reached along the mantelpiece for the matches and realized that there would not be any. Desiderata had always said she was much too busy not to use magic around the house. Even her laundry did itself. Granny disapproved of magic for domestic purposes, but she was annoyed. And she also wanted her tea. So she threw a couple of logs onto the fireplace and glared at them until they burst into flame out of sheer embarrassment.
Nice.
Like they're blushing. Blushing nice and red and hot.
It was then that her eye was caught by the shrouded mirror.
Bum, 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 bum.
Covering it over, she murmured. I didn't know old Desiderata was frightened of thunderstorms. She twitched aside the cloth, and she stared. Very few people in the world had more self-control than Granny Weatherwax. It was as rigid as a bar of cast iron and about as flexible. But she smashed the mirror.
7 years of bad luck.
Lilith sat bolt upright in her tower of mirrors. Her. The face was different, of course, older. It had been a long time. But eyes don't change, and witches always look at the eyes. Her.
Bum, 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 bum. Sorry.
All right, and the next section has Magrat Garlic.
That is Fiona.
Yeah.
Fiona.
You want to come read the Magrat section with me?
Dum, dum, dum.
The whole thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll read the Magrat things. Actually, I'm not sure how much she says. She's mostly thinking to
So is
herself.
Lilith bad?
She certainly does not think of herself as bad.
We'll find out.
Wasn't she in the other book that we read?
No, she's only in this one.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
Which one are you
Magrat
thinking
Garlic? No, she was in. She
Oh,
was in the
weird.
other one.
We're not talking about Magrat. We're talking about Lilith.
Oh yeah, no, Lilith wasn't in the other ones. Magrat was, but not Lilith.
Magrat Garlic.
Oh, sorry. I'm sitting
You
in
guys
the seat
okay?
because I'm about to do Magrat. Thanks.
I'm fine.
Magrat Garlic.
Please not take up the whole couch. Fallacy.
Magrat Garlic, witch, was also standing in front of a mirror. In her case, it was totally unmagical. It was also still one piece, but there had been one or two close calls. She frowned at her reflection. She frowned at her reflection, and then consulted the small, cheaply woodcut leaflet that had arrived the previous day. She mouthed a few words under her breath, straightened up, extended her hands in front of her, punched the air vigorously, and said,
Hi-ya!
Perfect. Magrat would be the first to admit that she had an open mind. It was as open as a field, as open as the sky. No mind could be more open without special surgical implements. And she was always waiting for something to fill it up. And what it was currently filling up with was the search for inner peace and cosmic harmony and the true essence of being.
Really?
Now, when people
Being
say...
with a capital B.
Yeah. When people say an idea came to me, it's not just a metaphor. Raw inspirations, tiny particles of self-contained thought, are slating through the cosmos all the time. They get drawn to heads like Magrat's in the same way that water runs into a hole in the desert. It was all due to her mother's lack of attention to spelling, she speculated. A caring parent would have spelled Margaret correctly. And then she could have been a Peggy or a Maggie. Big, robust names full of reliability. But there wasn't much you could do with a Magrat. It sounded like something that lived in a hole in a riverbank and was always getting flooded out.
It does. How about a rag mat?
Oh, there's another Magrat down there. She considered...
Frog newt thing.
Yeah. She considered changing it, but in her secret heart, she knew this would not work. Even if she became a Chloe or an Isabel on top, she'd still be a Magrat underneath. But it would be nice to try. It would be nice not to be a Magrat, even for a few hours. And it's thoughts like this that start people on the road to finding themselves. One of the earliest things Magrat had learned was that anyone finding themselves would be unwise to tell Granny Weatherwax, who thought that female emancipation was a women's complaint that should not be discussed in front of men. Nanny Og was more sympathetic, but had a tendency to come out with what Magrat thought of as double entendres, although...
What's that?
Double entendres.
Which means, you know what that is, a double entendre?
No.
It means something that means one regular thing and also a sexual thing. It's a pun.
Oh, I see.
Although in Nanny Og's case, they were generally single entendres and proud of it. In short, Magrat had despaired of learning anything at all from her senior witches, and was casting her net further afield. Much further afield. About as far afield as a field could be. Now, it's a strange thing about determined seekers after wisdom that no matter where they happen to be, they will always seek that wisdom which is a long way off. Wisdom is one of the few things that looks bigger the further away it is. Footnote. Hence, for example, the way of Mrs. Cosmopolite, which is very popular among young people who live in the hidden valleys above the snow line and the high ramtops. Disdaining the utterances of their own saffron-clad, prayer-wheel-spinning elders, they occasionally travel all the way down to number 3 Quirm Street in flat, foggy Ankh-Morpork to seek wisdom at the feet of Mrs. Marietta Cosmopolite, a seamstress. No one knows the reason for this, apart from the aforesaid attractiveness of distant wisdom, since they cannot understand a word she says, or more usually, screams at them. Many a bald young monk returns to his high fastness to meditate upon the strange mantra vouchsafed to him, such as, "Push off, you!" and "If I see one more of you little orange devils peering into me, he'll feel the edge of my hand, all right?" And, "Why are you buggers all coming around here staring at my feet?" They have even developed a special branch of martial arts based on their experiences, where they shout incomprehensibly at one another and then hit their opponent with a broom.
Smack.
Now currently Magrat was finding herself through the path of the scorpion, which offered cosmic harmony, inner oneness, and the possibility of knocking an attacker's kidneys out through his ears. She'd sent off for it. There were problems. The author, Grandmaster Lobsang Dibbler, had an
Dibbler?
Saying Dibbler.
Oh no.
had an address in Ankh-Morpork, and this did not seem like a likely seat of cosmic wisdom. Also, although he had put in lots of stuff about the way not being used for aggression and only to be used for cosmic wisdom, This was in quite small print, between enthusiastic drawings of people hitting one another with rice flails and going, "Hey!" And later on, you learned how to cut bricks in half with your hand and walk over red-hot coals and other cosmic things. Magrat thought Ninja was a nice name for a girl.
Okay.
She squared up to herself in the mirror again. And there was a knock at the door. Magrat went and opened it.
Hi?
She said. And Herker the poacher took a step backward. He was already rather shaken. An angry wolf had trailed him part of the way through the forest.
Why?
He said.
In case he looked at the package.
He said, and he leaned forward, his shock changing to his concern. Have you hurt your head, miss? She looked at him in incomprehension. Then realization dawned. She reached up and took off the headband with the chrysanthemum pattern on it, without which it is almost impossible to properly seek cosmic wisdom by twisting an opponent's elbows through 360 degrees.
No.
Okay.
She said.
What do you want?
I got a package for you, said Herker, presenting it. It was about 2 feet long and very thin. There is a note, said Herker helpfully. He shuffled around as she unfolded it and tried to read it over her shoulder.
It's private.
Said Magrat. Oh, is it? Said Herker agreeably.
Yes.
Well, I was told you'd give me a penny for delivering it, said the poacher. Magrat found one in her purse.
Money forges the chains which bind the laboring classes, she warned, handing it over.
Herker, who'd never thought of himself as a laboring class in his life, but who was prepared to listen to almost any amount of gibberish in exchange for a penny, nodded innocently. And I hope your head gets better, miss, he said. When Magrat was left alone in her kitchen-cum-dojo, she unwrapped the parcel. It contained one slim white rod. She looked at the note again. It said, I never had time to train a replacement, so you'll have to do. You must go to the city of Genua. I would have done this myself, only cannot by reason of being dead.
She keeps using that excuse.
Ella Saturday must not marry the prince. P.S. This is important. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. She looked down at the note again. P.S. P.S. Tell those 2 old biddies they are not to come with you. They will only ruin everything. And there was more. P.S. 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 It has a tendency to reset to pumpkins, but you'll get the hang of it in no time. Magrat looked at the mirror again, and then down at the wand. 1 minute, life is simple, and then suddenly it stretches away, full of complications.
Oh my,
She said.
I'm a fairy godmother.
All right, that's a good place to stop for the night then. Oh, goodness.
I want to hear some of ours.
Okay.